Gotta get my hair right for Taurus. Hi, Taurus, and welcome to your June 2021 monthly forecast. We'll be covering Mercury retrograde, the eclipse, and a few other things. So let's jump right into it. Entering June, Mercury retrograde will be live. We are here. It's Mercury retrograde, and Mercury is retrograde in your second house. And the second house has a lot to do with finances. Has everything to do with finances, to be honest with you, and also our value systems and the ways in which we individuate ourselves from others. So for you, this could mean a few things. First of all, how you spend your money is under review during this time. Any retrograde is a time in which RE words are very much the theme of the retrograde. So RE words meaning reviewing, revisiting, revising, reevaluating. And then we take a look at what planet is retrograde, and then it's the planetary keywords associated with that. So Mercury retrograde is about the RE words and how it ties to Mercury ruled themes of thinking and communicating. And for it to be in your second house, you're rethinking your finances, you're rethinking how you communicate about your finances and communicate about your values. So this might mean really taking a look at your budget. I think one of the best things you can do during this time would be looking at your budget. Are you overspending? Are you over budgeting? Are you underspending? What's going on with that? How are you divvying up your resources? And does there need to be some refresh when it comes to that? Like I said, the second house, the two big signification are finances and values. So it could be very much about rethinking how you communicate your values, either to others or to yourself, redefining what your values really are. Mercury retrograde is a time in which ghosts from our past tend to come back in order to trigger all of the rethinking. So it could be people that maybe you were unable to individuate from in the past. And so they're coming back to confront you with really sort of what the root causes were for that. Could also be people that very much kind of shaped your value system, whether they meant to or not. And it could be a reminder as to what lessons those people taught us. For you, this could be a lot of ghosts, or it could just be those meaningful ones. Now, with Mercury retrograde in the second house, like I said, budgeting is going to be important during this time and not overspending. And the reason why I say that is that on June 10th, there's going to be a solar eclipse in Gemini in the same house. And eclipses were viewed as malefic way back when, from a traditional standpoint. From a modern lens, we don't view things as good or evil per se, but eclipses are wildly uncontrollable and typically associated with severing or ushering in the new through parting with the old. There could be a pattern of behavior when it comes to finances, to values, to the ways in which we individuate that absolutely needs to change, that you may need to part with in order to usher in something new, more organic, or that aligns with your, evolved self, if you will. For some positive news in this respect, this could really usher in a new era for responsibility around finances, if that's something that you feel like you struggled with in the past. It could be the time in which you see a broker or you see someone who specializes in finances if you've never done that before and that's something that you're interested in doing, or educating yourself on how the stock market works or how just some aspect of our financial system works from a very high level intellectual standpoint. Low level, it could really be learning how to do your taxes during this time, or it could be, taking a jump start on getting all of your stuff ready in regard to any sort of financial audits that are going on. With the eclipse in the second house and the second house being tied to values, there could also be some sort of event or some big theme happening right now that leads to a dramatic shift in your value system. And I strongly recommend that you spend this time being open to and even seeking out those who have really carved out value systems for people to follow. Examples would be like Brene Brown or Oprah or Esther Perel, people who have books or writings or TED Talks on value systems and ways that we can live wholeheartedly. There's going to be an extra emphasis on sort of like probing whether you're doing that. Are you living wholeheartedly or not? And if not, how is that impeding your development? On the second, Venus is moving into Cancer in your third house of communication, local community, siblings, platonic friendships. And Venus in Cancer in the third house is a very cushy transit. So this is definitely the time to write a love letter, or, to really write a song, write prose, use communication to really deliver the message of love and light, if you will. Venus in the third house could be a very good time to really tour your local community and see what gems you've missed there. If there's a cute little coffee shop tucked into like a nook or something, if there's a farmer's market in your local community, really being involved in and seeing the magic and the beauty of your local community. And with the third house signification of siblings, Venus entering your third house, this is a great time to spend quality time with those that are your siblings or that you consider to be siblings, whether it's blood or it's chosen siblings. And like I said, platonic friendships would fall under the third house as well. So definitely spending a lot of quality time with friends. Cancer does have a signification for the home and then also for being the mother figure. So it could be a time in which you dote on or really give that TLC to siblings, those you consider sibling, or those close platonic friends as well. So on the 11th, we have Mars and Leo entering your fourth house of home and family. And so with Mars in the fourth house, the attention is on the actual structure of your home, to be honest with you. Mars, from a shadow vibe standpoint, is inflammatory and can really point out the ways in which things are not up to date. Mars in the fourth could draw your attention to potential problems within the home from a very like structural standpoint. While structure is typically associated with Saturn, Mars would likely incite or inflame existing structural difficulties, which is why I say it's really important if you have a home improvement project to do it during this time. From a high mind standpoint, Mars is all about kinetic energy and getting things done. So if you've been meaning to re-roof your home or to repaint a wall or do something that's really about the structure and the integrity of the actual place in which you live, whether it's an apartment or a home or any other, place in which you may live, this is really a good time to get to work. Mars, a signification of Mars is getting to work, right? It's drive, ambition, assertion, working, fighting, fornicating, all those things. And it being in your fourth house of home and family, channeling that energy to being something productive would be really good. I will also note that there's a special potency around potential conflicts with those in the home, especially if they're family members or those we consider family members. So definitely be mindful about the ways in which you're communicating or going about confrontation at this time. Doesn't mean don't confront those people, whoever they may be. Just recognize that there is scrutiny around it. So recognizing that you choose your words properly, that you're also listening, that you're trying to go about it in as equitable a confrontation as possible. It's important to assert yourself, and that's a Mars ruled theme also, but just recognize that there is extra scrutiny around it. So just be mindful to do it as carefully as you can. So on the 14th, we have Saturn square Uranus. Uranus is currently in your first house and Saturn is currently in your 10th house. With Saturn transiting your 10th, there is definitely a lot of energy around the limitations of career, or there is a sobering feeling about what you want to do in life, like what your purpose is per se. And you could be feeling very itchy to either change things or to progress in your current career if you're happy with where you're at. And this is totally normal. This is par for the course with this transit. I will say that it does seem like it would heighten as a result of this occurring along those two angles. Very important to ground you in the why of your work right now. Like, why are you doing it? Is there some spiritual fulfillment, some soul fulfillment? And if not, what is the means that's meeting an end that you're currently doing what you're doing? And is there any way to give kind of like a spiritual fulfillment lens to your current career? If not, is there anything you can do outside of work that really kind of plugs that leak, if you will, or like fills that void per se? Saturn in the 10th can be sobering and can also feel like we're confronting the reality of our situation, maybe things we are unaware of when it comes to career or trajectory, recognition from the public. And with Uranus in the first, it is a very kind of angsty, like desire to break away, kind of not solid ground feeling to it. So, absolutely, it's important to not only get in touch with the why of what you're doing, why you're doing it, but if you are feeling like there's so much that's going on outside of your control, really learning how to ground yourself in your body. So I posed the question to you of around meditation practice and around the ways in which you can be your own anchor, because Uranus on one angle in the first house of self, and Saturn at the top of your chart on that angle in the house of career absolutely can feel like a very unsettling time, kind of that there's so much out of your control. So really figure out what is in your control during this time. Get in touch with that why, learn how to ground yourself, and you're going to really level up as a result of the scrutiny that you're undergoing during this year. The Saturn Uranus squares will be active all year, so this isn't something that's new. This is the second of three exact squares, so it could be something that came up as a result of the second square, but the story is going to be unfolding throughout this year, likely leading to major changes going into next year. Lastly, on the 20th, it's Cancer season in your third house. So Venus and the Sun being co-present in your third house of communication, siblings, those friendships, local community, that sort of thing. This is a really positive kind of vibe around all of those themes. So once again, a lot of strong energy around communication and speaking, from the heart and from the soul to whoever you need to speak to, or to whoever you need to communicate to, if it's not through words, if it's through writing, or if it's through some other language, right? That language is very nonverbal as well. In addition to that, there's a lot of energy around listening and receiving as a form of communication. So really pose the question to you, do you both express and also receive? I think that's a big question to answer around this time. Once again, with the Sun being co-present to Venus, great time to spend quality time with siblings, those you consider to be siblings, those friendships, and also spending quality time in your local communities as well. With Mercury retrograde and the eclipses occurring in your second house, I want to just remind you that finances are under scrutiny for you. So definitely be mindful about that budget. With Mars being in your fourth, it's time for some home improvement projects, so really drawing your attention towards home and family. Wishing you the best of luck in June.